This is Heart Pocket Podcast number 404 for July 7th, 2026.
Heart Pocket Podcast, seeking to align our hearts with God's heart, making our hearts more like the heart of Jesus.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Heart Pocket Podcast. I'm actually here with a friend of mine. Her name is Diane. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Diane Connor. I live in Richmond, Virginia.
Diane, you've been with us since when?
Since 2020.
How did you find us? What happened?
Well, I retired in 2019. And I always knew that when I retired, that I would want a focus of service that I would do for the kingdom. And I was really tired when I retired. So I gave myself 6 months. And then I'd asked for a particular study Bible for Christmas. And between Christmas and New Year's, I thought, I'm going to read the Bible in 40 days.
Really?
And that's going to be I think that's going to be maybe when God's going to speak to me about what's next. And it actually took me 43 days because we went on vacation. And my husband was gracious enough to let me do quite a bit of listening. I ended up doing almost all of it by listening.
Really?
And I think that was part of an introduction to orality, right? It's listening to the Bible. And where I'd gotten bogged down before in some places, the listening and just feeling that whole flow of the scripture. I just never was one of those 3 pages a day people. Somewhere in the middle of it, it came to me stories. I'd done a story training twice, same training, a few years earlier, but it left me with more questions than answers.
Really?
They had us memorizing the story as opposed to learning to tell it. They picked 5 stories, and those stories were theologically really rich, but full of dialogue, and so very hard to learn.
Right.
So I said, I need more. I need something longer. And so I started looking up different ministries, and there were some, and they had this sort of little fixed list of questions you could ask. And I thought, that's really not what I'm looking for. I want more dynamic discussion tools. And then I found Simply the Story, and it was 5 days. And I said, all right, this is the longest one. That doesn't mean you go off to school somewhere. So I'm going to sign up. And I signed up for an in-person training.
Oh, yeah.
And then this little virus came about.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It seemed to have originated in a particular place. And at first, nothing was made of it. And then all of a sudden, a lot was made of it. And the Monday before I was going to fly out on a Wednesday, the call came in. We're canceling the in-person training.
Wow. Where were you going to go? To California or to Kentucky?
I was going to be with Dan McDonough in his neck of the woods. And
so that would have been like Michigan or something.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I sulked like an 8th grade girl for a few days. And then I went online to see if there was some learning I could do in the interim. And Butch Vernon was doing 3 stories a week online. And that was really my first connection because I signed up for this workshop, but I wouldn't quite call that a connection. Met Andrew and Cheryl,
Okay.
who I just finally met
In person. And that was what, 5 years later?
That's
6 years.
Yeah, close to 6, not quite 6.
Wow. So you went and you took your first training online, and what happened?
So the first training online was a replacement. The first training STS did was to replace an in-person training that was to happen in Europe. And then the second training was scheduled to be, anybody could come, but it was supposed to fit more of a U.S. schedule.
Yeah.
And so we were guinea pigs, and it was great, but Zoom capacity is not as high as in-person capacity.
Correct.
And we were exhausted and had our eyelids dried to our eyes.
Right.
And my last story, the story that I told, was on the last day. And after I got coached, I cut off my screen and my audio, and I just cried.
Oh, wow.
And then I said, I don't think this is the story. Yes, the story didn't go well. I think it's COVID.
Blame it on COVID.
It was COVID. It's like, I think COVID just made me cry. And the incident was me telling my first story. But then I went back online, and Butch and Andrew started to coach me. And then Andrew started a group with some of us who just started learning online.
Right.
And that was great because every week there was a storyteller, there was coaching if you told the story. And I'd say that's really the beginning. And then when the first assistant instructor training came on, I signed up immediately. That, I think, also went through some iterations.
Yes.
But as in an in-person training, you're paired with someone. For my first training that I helped with, I was paired with someone who knew the process. I watched that first tribe round. I thought, that's kind of like what they told me to do. And then I tried it the second round, and then the person who was showing me how to do things, they did round 3, and then I did round 4. It's like, and it was a training.
Wow. Excellent. Yeah, we used to call the assistant instructor training AI, but now it's going to get confused. I mean, about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there wasn't an issue with AI. Yeah. Now there is. So to cut down on some confusion, we now call it the assistant instructor training.
Yes.
You've been listening to Heart Pocket Podcast. Interviews, Bible stories, in-depth discussions, stories of impact from around the world.
Okay, so you cried after your first story. You then went on to take some assistant instructor training. And you've been to at least, 2 advanced trainings?
So right away, I was involved in several online trainings.
Okay.
Because still, a lot of the world was shut down.
Right,
so different places were opening up, but it was still very hard to travel. And so I was involved in probably 2 or 3 trainings pretty quickly online. Then Butch decided to do some hybrid trainings.
In person with some people zoomed in?
Yeah, and he said, you can do it for free because I'm kind of experimenting on you online people.
He likes those guinea pigs.
Yeah, so I showed up. I know there was a man who does a lot of outdoor fairs in the British Isles, and he came, and it was a lot of fun.
Why did you stick with it? Was it what you were looking for? Was it better than what you were looking for? Why did you stick with it?
I think immediately it gave me the tools I needed for personal Bible study. I was just getting so much out of it. It was like something that I had been waiting for a long time. And I've always been drawn to the narratives of the Bible. I would say that in terms of my personal study, it's in meditating on stories that I figured out things about people and sin and the kingdom, and just by thinking about the characters in the story.
And this is as a result of STS or even prior to?
No, this is before STS.
Okay, gotcha.
But I didn't have all the tools that I needed.
Okay.
And these were so simple, right? It's a lot in a week.
It is.
Right? It makes your head dizzy.
Right.
But then when you look at it, it's not. It's a process with a handful of steps of preparation, a handful of steps of presentation, and a little tool set of questions that's quite finite and that you can use very effectively without any modification. It's not something that you then build on. It's a set that works right away. Just what are we learning about this character that they did this thing? And you can get a lot out of that.
Yeah.
And then I think the choices question says, you may be very familiar with this story, but at the time this person was involved in it, they had options.
Right. And we don't never think that they did.
Yeah. It's they chose something. And as you look at those, you're like, wow, they were braver than I thought.
Right.
Or more cowardly or something. And it just kind of breaks it open for them to be real people.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it also shows when the choices are narrow. Because you go, well, they could have done this, but that really isn't. A lot of things would close off that path. And then the impact. Like, wow, there's the impacts we plan or hope for when we make a choice. And then there's those ones that we don't have control over or weren't thinking about at all.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, look what happened. So those three questions, just a lot happens.
I agree with you.
Those three things.
No, I totally agree with you. And because of those questions, I actually see it a lot more in life today where somebody makes a choice. They may not realize how it impacts those around them, but it does. Good choices will impact other people and bad choices will impact other people, whether the person who makes the choice knows it or not. And it's a fascinating thing to observe.
I think also a question I hear a lot in Bible study teachers, in sermons, in the little books where you fill in the blanks.
Yep.
Is why. And STS moves away from why unless it's in the story.
Right. It can be proven. Yeah.
If it's in the story. And I think that has the impact of saying, step back and say, I don't always know people's motives. In fact, I probably know people's motives far less than I actually know them.
Right.
And it makes me less likely to jump to a conclusion or a judgment about someone else.
That's a really good point. So the application of stepping away from the whys in life today is just not assuming that people did something for a particular reason, not assuming their motives.
Yeah. And
okay.
I kind of learned that to some degree. I was a ESL teacher at a university for 25 years.
Wow.
And students would sometimes not do assignments.
That happens.
Not come to class, and sometimes fall asleep in class. And I learned, don't assume that you know why these things are happening.
Right.
There were some very common reasons, but that doesn't mean that is that individual's reason.
Right.
And particularly if all of a sudden there was a change, a student who had been doing well and now things are slipping.
Right.
Just pull them aside and say, tell me about this. I've noticed this change and what's going on. And then when they would tell me asking them some questions, maybe making some suggestions so that they could solve the problem. Because they were in a new culture. They didn't always know what resources were available in this new culture.
Right.
Mom and Dad weren't there. But I just feel like I've applied it a lot more broadly.
Yeah, there was something the other day, and I don't remember what it was, but I initially thought, oh, that person did this, and it's just so rude. And I mean, I was starting to get a little heated. But thankfully, I was able to ask them why they did a certain thing. And the reason they gave me made total sense. I was like, I'm glad I didn't approach it with a you did this kind of an attitude and accusatory. And so I'm glad, I want to go back to what you said. You hear this question being taught a lot, and people will honestly, they'll take certain stances about people in the Bible based upon a why that cannot be proven. And it's fascinating to observe. Tune in next week for another episode of Heart Pocket Podcast, and feel free to subscribe on iTunes. For those who wish to have more information about Simply the Story trainings, please feel free to contact the office at info@simplythestory.org or call us at 951-658-1619. You can also visit our website at simplythestory.org. And now you can watch God's story in hundreds of languages just from our simplythestory.org website.
You've been listening to Heart Pocket Podcast, hiding God's Word in our heart pockets, changing the world one heart at a time.
When it sings of glory, I sing the new soul. Will be the old story that I have loved so long.